only first null value, only one null value. It will not accept more than one null value. That we have to remember, right? So unique constraint, if you created on the table, right? So it will not allow duplicates, but it will allow only one null value. So that is the use of this unique constraint, right? Now, the next thing is primary key. Primary key. Okay. Now, I would like to create primary key on the ID column. Okay. I would like to introduce one more property called as primary key on this table, right? So just click on execute. Now, I would like to insert some values. Okay. So first value is this, right? And second time, okay, I want to insert B, but ID, I want to insert 101 only. So it will throw an error. The reason behind that is, so it is complaining about, right? The duplicate key value that you are trying to insert is 101. Okay, since 101 is already inserted into the ID column, you are again trying to insert 101 again. So it will complaining about, right? The duplicate key value is not allowed. So the funda here is, if you create a primary key constraint on a column, it will not allow duplicates. What about null values? So I want to insert a null into the ID column because ID is the primary key column, right? So I will just insert this, I will execute this. So it will throw an error, right? It will not allow null value. It will not allow null value, right? So it is evident that when you create a primary key on the table, right? So it will not allow any null value. So far what we have discussed, what not null means, it will not allow any null values. Unique constraint, it will not allow duplicates, but allow only one null value. And next is check constraint. So what is check constraint? It will always check whether the specified condition is true or not. Is met or not, right? If it is not met, it will throw an error. If you are trying to insert a value which is not meeting the condition that we have specified, it will throw an error. And the second one is default. So default means it will, if you don't insert any value, it will insert the default value, right? Default value. Otherwise, it will insert the value that you have specified. And second thing, the next thing is primary key constraint. The primary key constraint, when you create on a column, so it will not allow duplicates or null values. Duplicates and null values also it will not allow. Right? So the next important thing is foreign key constraint. The last one is foreign key constraint. So in order to understand this foreign key constraint, so we have to create two tables. Okay. So here I have created test anyways, right? I have created test. And I would like to create one more table, test one. Okay, I will go and create one more table called as test one. So in this test one column, I will give some columns like this: salary one, name one, is active one, blah blah blah. Okay, so here I have to specify the condition as sal1 greater than 1000. So here so we have two tables, test one and test. Okay, test one and test. So here I would like to introduce a foreign key between this test and test one. Test and test one. So how I can do is, so id1 int references test of id. Okay, test of id. So what exactly mean by this? So I am telling that, right? So when we are trying to insert any value into this id1 column in the test one, when you are trying to insert any value into this id1 column, so it always go back and check in this table test, and the column is id. In this test table, it will always go and check whether that value exists in this id column or not. Okay, then only it will allow you to insert the value into this id1 column. Otherwise it will throw an error. So okay, if it is not making sense, so just bear with a minute, you will understand better. So just I created two tables, test and test one. In the test one, what I created, I am creating a foreign key using this keyword references test of id, sorry. So now I want to insert some value into the test column. Okay, test table. So what I want to insert is, so I want to insert some 100 a, so any values 10,000 or so, just insert, and then 100 101 b, and then same way I want to insert 102 c. Okay, something like this. I have inserted some values into the test. The test table will have 100, 101, 102 in the ID column. Is it 100, 101, 102? and remaining all as usual. Now I want to insert some values into the test1 table. Test1 table. Now what I do? So since these are having the same column, so what I do now, I will just modify this. So I will keep 100 and this one as C or something, and this value is like 20,000, and just try to insert it. Okay. So, okay. So we want to insert into the test1, right? Test is already having this one. That's why it is complaining it. So we want to, okay, test1 is not created or what? So if it is not created, then we'll insert. Okay. So we will keep like ID1, name1, sal1, and isActive1. And then we try to insert some value. Okay. So we have inserted some values. So here I want to insert 101 T something. Okay. So now if you observe test and test1, right now there is no issue. As of now, there is no issue. We have not get any issue. Right? To the test, we have inserted the IDs like 100, 101, 102, 100 and 101. Now into the test1 table, I would like to insert 110 in place of ID. In place of ID, I want to insert 110. Okay. So will it allow or not? Okay. So it will not allow. Why? Because the reason behind that is, if you carefully observe, so what it is complaining about, insert statement conflicted with the foreign key constraint, and this is the constraint name, right? So insert statement conflicted with the foreign key constraint. The reason behind that is, so foreign key created on which table? Foreign key created in this test1 table. What values it is going to check whether that value is there in the test table in the ID column or not. So when you are trying to insert 110, it will go and check whether this 110 value is present in the test table in the ID field or not. In the ID, if you carefully observe, we have 100, 101 and 102. And earlier also we have inserted 100 and 101. But in this, since we have created a foreign key relationship on the test1 with the test table, so you are trying to insert 110 into this test1 table. So that's why it is throwing an error. As I mentioned, when you create a foreign key relationship between the two tables, the child table, will always go and check whether that particular value exists in the parent table or not. If it is not exist, it will throw an error, right? So that is the funda of creating the foreign key relationship. So it will, so here the funda is, so test table will become your master table. This is called as, in database terminology, this will become your master table. Right? And this will become your child table, test1. Because the reason behind that is, it will, this ID1 column always go and reference the values in the ID column in the test table. Right? Whether that value exists in the ID column or not. If it is not exist, we are not allowed to insert. We are not allowed to insert. Right? So that is the funda of this foreign key constraint. So when you are trying to insert any value, it is always go and check, right? So that is a thing about this, of course. So now if you go and compare, 110 is not there in this test one, that is a master table, right? So now I want to insert 100 again. I want to insert 100 again. Since I already inserted 100, is it possible to insert duplicates? Yes, of course, you are allowed to create insert duplicates into this foreign key column, right? 100 is the foreign key column. So as long as this 100 exists in this table, you are allowed to insert multiple duplicates, multiple values of the same into the ID column. It will allow. It will allow. There is no issue with that. And is that possible that I don't want to, insert any value? I just want to keep it null. Yes, of course, that is possible. Okay. Okay. The unique key constraint is violated. So I will just keep it T2. Of course, it is possible. So you are allowed to insert null values also into this foreign key column. And also you are allowed to insert duplicates. You can insert, the values which are exist in the test table, 100, 101, 102, as long as you are inserting the values which are exist in this ID column, so you can insert any number of duplicates of that's a ID column, and you are allowed to insert null value, right? So these points that we need to remember when we are working with the foreign key column, like how it will behave, right? So this is the funda about the foreign key constraint, right? So any doubts here you can ask. So tomorrow also we will be discussing more on this foreign key constraints only. The foreign key, primary key. So we will be discussing about the table level syntax of this different constraints. And also I will show you practically what are all the problems that we face when we are trying to delete some values on the table. So the exercise for tomorrow is, I request everybody should note down. So I request everybody to do this exercise tomorrow. So create table employee with these columns like employee ID, name, sal, date of joining, separation date is active. Okay. So create this. This is the table. So in this table, what you will keep is so you can keep one more column key. You can keep employee key, employee ID, name, sal is active. Okay. So this employee key I want to create as a identity column. And this employee on the employee ID, I want to create primary key. Okay. And the name, I want to create unique constraint. And on salary, I want to create check constraint. And also I want to create default constraint on the is active. Okay. This is one thing. And create one more table called as so here I would like to introduce one more column called as DPT ID. DPT ID. So create a table called as DPT. So before creating this employee table, I will create DPT table. Okay. So in the DPT table, what are the columns? I want to keep DPT ID and the department name. So maybe you can also keep like DPT key. That is not an issue. So you can create 3 columns. So DPT key you can create as a identity column, and DPT ID I want to create as a primary key column, and then DPT name, it's up to you, you can insert any value. Now what I want to do is the DPT ID in the employee table is there, right? So I want to create a foreign key between them. Foreign key between DPT based on DPT ID. Okay. So this is one thing that you have to do. You have to create 2 tables, DPT table with these columns and employee with these columns and with these requirements, below requirements. And after I create, you can insert values, into the DPT and employee. So both the tables, insert some values. Okay. So just try to practice until this. So based on top of this, I will tell you what are all the practical problems that we will face in the project. Okay, when we have the foreign key, if you are trying to delete, a value from the master table, so you are not allowed to delete it. But how to, you know, how to delete that carefully, and what is the real time, the process that we will do, that we'll discuss step by step tomorrow. Okay. So tomorrow the agenda is, so we will be discussing about table level constraint declaration, the syntax, table level syntax, and we'll be also looking at what are all the practical problems that we will face and how to resolve that in real time. Okay. So that we are going to discuss in depth. Okay. So for now, I request everybody try to install the SQL and try to solve this exercise. Okay. So this is exercise 1. Okay. I will be sending on this group. Yeah. So this is about today's session. So if you have any queries, you can ask. Okay. So if you don't have any queries, so we will see, like we will meet tomorrow and try to discuss more on this constraint and the practical problem that you will face. Okay. So please try to practice that. See you everyone.